Hello, my name is Jim O'Brien. I'm a freelance software developer. Um, what I have here is I have a project I'm working on that does time-lapse photography. Um, Let me go through some of the features of this first. I'm having a little bit of trouble with this OBS Studio. It seems to be filling up with memory or something like that. But what I want to do first, which takes probably more memory, is I want to show you the results of what I had done. So just to show the time-lapse image, let me run that. It takes a little while for it to upload, but I don't know what the problem is with the OBS Studio, but if I put this clip at the end of it, it seems to be choppy. It does play it, it's just that it doesn't look so good. And that's the whole point of this, is to try to show you how you can do time-lapse photography and have it come out smoothly and good quality. So this is a clip that's starting out at night. It's looking for the sunrise, and it's approximately 3 hours long, and it is cut down into a 20-second clip. Okay, so now that that's playing, and I hope it comes out so it's not so choppy. It comes out perfectly fine when I do it on my laptop. So anyways, let me go through some of the features now that we got that out of the way. The hardware setup is a Raspberry Pi computer. It's got one of the Raspberry Pi camera modules, and it's a special one. It's one that's made by Articam, and it's got a manual focus through I2C, so you can actually, through I2C, change the focus of the camera, which is kind of neat. It works really well. I'll show you a little bit about it. But anyways, what you do is you put the IP in for the Raspberry Pi, and this is the port that it's running on. The communication between the Raspberry Pi and the web browser or the viewer or whatever you're using, a tablet. It uses WebSockets, so that's the port. You can change the playback speed, so if you wanted to play the clip back slower or faster, you can change it from 10% to 400%. And then the viewer, I've got my laptop, I've got a Note 3 phone that I've been using for testing, and I've got the Amazon Fire HD10. And then I'll eventually see if I can figure out how to add the iPhones and the different size monitors and possibly a Surface or whatever. But basically, the Note 3 and the Amazon Fire, I used PhoneGap and used PhoneGap to create an APK file. And I wasn't sure if Amazon Fire tablets supported APK files, but I found a way to do it, and it seems to be fine. There's no, on the Amazon Fire, there's no Play Store, so you can't download different kinds of apps. You just have to use the Amazon store. But anyways, now this goes off to the Raspberry camera, and it gets information about what's going on. So basically, the way it works is that right now this is configured to take 1200 frames, and the 1200 frames are taken with a time-lapse seconds delay of 10 seconds, which means that it takes a clip, and then it waits 10 seconds, and it takes another clip until it gets to 1200 clips. Right now it's configured for the frames to be 720p. There's a way that you can start and stop these, in case you wanted to start it, in the morning and just go to like 6 o'clock and you didn't want to record while it was dark. You can come up here and you can say, I just want it to be always on, or I want it to be timed. So we'll just leave that alone for now. And then The only other interesting thing is that it supports an LCD display in case you had it someplace outside and you didn't have your phone. There's an LCD display there, and the unit I'm working on, I'm going to install 2 buttons, and the buttons are going to be used to kind of control it, to start and stop it, and do different kinds of things like that, but that's just work in progress. Okay, let me close this. Now, let me show you information first. Here, this is the name of the camera. This is the IP for the router. Right now, it's collecting the 1200 clips. It's already captured 781 clips. It's the total clip time is 200 minutes. So what that is the 1200 clips times the 10 seconds works out to be 200 minutes. So the remaining time for this particular session is 69 minutes left. Here we got the CPU temperature because it gets pretty hot because the cameras are outside, and in the Carolinas in the summer it gets hot and these things start to overheat. So and then it just tells me here that it's capturing, because what happens is that when it gets to 1200 it's going to have to process these images. So it takes the 1200 JPEG images, it pulls them in and uses FFmpeg to convert all these JPEG images into an MPEG file. And the MPEG file is what we just played when we first started this up. So let me go over this again. This is the one I wanted to talk about. I really don't want to do that, so I'll cancel it. What you can do is if you're running along and you decide that, okay, well, I don't want to wait the remaining 68 minutes because I've got enough clips here that kind of show what I'm interested in anyways, so you don't have to go to the very end. You can force it. So that's what this is used for. It's pretty handy. Now here is the live viewer. The way this works is that the crosshair and the circle are used so that you can say, for example, that you were taking a time lapse of a flower blooming. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to take the crosshair and the circle and position it someplace that's fixed, like the edge of the flower pot, or you could put a push pin in the wall or something like that, because for the flower to bloom is going to take many days, many weeks, I don't know how long, but anyways, you have to, if you can use the crosshair and always put the crosshair right where it's supposed to be every single time, then your image won't be choppy. You should be able to get, the only thing moving should be the flower. And so if you go 2 weeks and it goes from not bloomed to fully bloomed, the only thing you should see that changes is the flower. Everything else around it should be the same. So that's what it's for. A couple other things I added. The timestamp up here cycles through 3 colors. It goes through white to gray to black. And the reason for that is because you never know what the background's going to be. So if you have a black background and you have a black timestamp string, you just can't see it. So this allows you to cycle through it regardless of what you have for a background. You should be able to see it. Down here, the focus. This is the cool thing about that camera I told you about. It's a manual focus. So right here I've got it all the way down to infinite because I'm just looking out at the clouds. And so, but when I'm going to do the flower, I'm going to have the camera up close. So this setting won't work. It's going to be too blurry. But what I can do is, what I'll do quickly here is I'll just put the camera out of focus, and you'll see how fast it is. It just actually turned the mechanism in the camera, so it would be in focus up close. And then I just pushed it back so it's back to infinite. The only other kind of feature for, instead of having this all full of slide bars for contrast and saturation and all those kinds of things, I just came up with the best combination that looked the best, and the brightness was the only one I kind of was playing with all the time. So, you know, this one you can change it from darker to brighter. I think it was around 52 originally. So those are the two things that seem to be the most important to me. Obviously, if you're going to use a Raspberry with some other camera, then the focus won't matter, because that focus is specific to that camera module. So I think that's about it. We've got a little zoom here. It doesn't go real big, but it's yeah, big enough. I think that's about it. Yeah. If you have any feedback, I'm curious to find out different types of features. My son has a camera that has a time-lapse features in it, and sometimes the images are kind of all over the place, and I'm not quite sure how to control. That's why I went to the Raspberry Pi, which is cool, because I already had the server all set up that was running openCV, and openCV is what actually pastes these kinds of things, the crosshair and the circle, and it throws in the timestamp and things like that. So openCV is pretty nice. It's got a lot of library features and stuff, and I've used it in the past for machine learning, and it's pretty nice. So and it interfaces pretty well. It's JavaScript running this application on my laptop through web servers that go down to the Raspberry Pi that's running C++ and the openCV as a server, and everything seems to be pretty stable there. And the main reason I wanted to do this video was to try to get some feedback from, you know, other people that have done things like this. I'm going to post this on YouTube to see if I can get some feedback, to see what kind of features would be nice, or even some of the features I have are really not necessary. But that's about it. Thank you for your time.